The meeting was held between first years and second year students. The location was the first place they met. The process was quite stressful. It was also a special event at Philion. That battle was described as, when the two students with the highest scores on the entrance exam stood up to represent the first years. Assigned to be paired with the 4 best second years, the second years all had their own fighting styles. They will take turns one-on-one. The significance of this event is closely related to the teachers in Philion. It increases the relationship between the upper classes and the first-year students, so that they can learn about each other's strengths and weaknesses. This will supplement the students' knowledge, and this competition is also considered as is the beginning of real learning. These battles are educational, and through them, representatives of each year will show their first steps forward in the academy. Of course, first years will be given the right to choose their opponents, and 5-2s cannot give up once they have been chosen. The principal did not forget to comfort him. This is just a learning session, so don't feel pressured, first-year representatives, just relax. Ronan clicked his tongue in annoyance. He's beating around the bush again. What he said just made the first years more confused. On his opponent's side, the first person was a martial arts major, second-year academy rank 1, Nasdo. The second person is a second-year martial arts student, ranked 2nd, Braum. The opponent seems extremely excited to be fighting. The next person is the 4th-ranked martial arts major, Karen. The last person is the 3rd-ranked martial arts major, Irina. Braum's clear voice rang out, the Empire's top talent, Shiliefan, and the star the gang beat him in the practice test, Ronan. I can't help it, I want to fight them so quickly. As he spoke, he laughed loudly and seemed to be satisfied. Ronan was a bit bored with the opponent. In his heart, he thought of his sister. Since things don't seem to be going in the planned direction, so I can show her that I won't be defeated easily. If I can show you my great combination with him, that would be great. At this moment, the principal's voice rang out, okay, the first years can freely choose their opponents. These words seemed to help Ronan have more ideas. He raised his hand and said, sorry, if it's okay, can I make a suggestion? The principal was quite surprised by his words. Ronan continued, because we were free to choose our opponents. I want to be taught by all these respected seniors. This startled the principal. However, he still agreed to accept this condition. However, this is no different from a kind of challenge and contempt for second-year students. Even though he was surrounded by their murderous gazes, Ronan still did not forget to challenge. His seniors went up at the same time. Before the match, the principal and professors met to discuss. He turned to ask, Ms. Nabarose, what do you think about her proposal? This professor said indifferently, you just go ahead as he wants. Isn't Philion Academy's motto that if you have talent, you can do anything you want? So no matter who wins this match, it will have great meaning and show other students many valuable lessons. If things get out of control, I will intervene immediately. The principal pondered her words. After a moment, he nodded, then we will proceed like that. Before long, Ronan stood looking at his 4 opponents. Their eyes were angry and annoyed, obviously angered by his words. It's ridiculous, how much does that brat look down on us? Is he doing what he wants just because he ranked first in the entrance? We should take advantage of this opportunity to teach them a lesson. Nasdo spoke up, everyone calm down and prepare for battle. Shiliefan, he's arrogant but very good. He's an opponent we can't underestimate. We'll go all the way from the beginning and attack them all, understand? As soon as the attack ended, everyone immediately entered a fighting stance. Everyone took out their weapons. Extremely fierce state. That situation made Iril worried, the atmosphere was so chaotic. She couldn't help but scream, Ronan, be careful. If you feel it's dangerous, you have to retreat immediately, remember. Ronan turned to look at her. He smiled and waved his hand to reassure her. This action of his made Iril's anxiety seem to have subsided. The principal stood on the stage and started shouting, okay, from now on. Battle between second year and first year. Officially started. As soon as the chant ended, Nasdo immediately took the initiative to attack Ronan. He quickly dodged to escape a fatal sword. The opponent this time was indeed very sharp. They were several levels better than Mario from before, meaning the 4 strongest second years were all on a different level. And above all, this time, Irina cooperated with Nasdo to attack. Her eyes glowed. The force in his hand became stronger. Immediately Karen rushed from behind. Irina lowered her head. Ronan surprised by their coordination. Extremely good group fighting skills, he used his sword to block Karun's spear. His whole body was knocked backwards. But that wasn't the end. Before he could rest, there was an enemy behind him. Braum raised his sword high in the air, preparing to slash down. At this moment, Ronan's situation is extremely dangerous as he is being squeezed. Braum said coldly, little Ronan, you look down on us a bit. I want to have a more intense battle with you, but this doesn't seem possible. Braum's blade is extremely fast and strong. and immediately followed by heavy attacks from other opponents, all of whom are at very high levels. However, in such a surrounded situation, Ronan's body suddenly disappeared. Brown's slash also fell into space because of that. Only then did the crowd realize when Ronan had moved. Why is he so fast? Just before they could react, Ronan simultaneously attacked. He couldn't stop feeling, Philion Academy is really great. He had just landed on the ground when Brown's figure next to him jumped up. Ronan didn't panic and teased, "Senior, you're really strong." His will to fight should have been crushed. "You've fought hard, so I'll politely fight you until the end." Saying that, he raised his sword, preparing to receive the opponent's attack. His actions startled Brown. His current fighting stance completely matches Muz Nabarose. With 3 slashes, Brown had no chance to resist. The sword in his hand was beaten to pieces. Ronan smiled and said, "I learned a lot from this match." Senior. The whole hall had not recovered from the fight just now. Iril looked at her younger brother in shock. A man is fighting a group that looks like demons. When he regained consciousness, everyone was shouting, "Who is that person? So good." He seemed weaker at the beginning, but in just a moment he finished them all. Is he still a first year? The 4 second years all looked like they couldn't believe it. Nasdo looked at his broken sword and forced a smile. I couldn't compare to him, so there was nothing to complain about. Where did he come from? That weird name. Ronan was now looking intently at his sister. She was holding the collar of the person next to her and excitedly showing off. "Do you see? It's my younger brother." Ronan felt at ease now, so she didn't have to worry about being beaten anymore. And now, thinking, he looked at the 4 people in front of him. The seniors have worked hard. Today I learned a lot. Because I was so excited to join Philion, I opened my mouth like that. The power of my seniors was truly beyond my imagination. Thank you everyone for accepting the challenge of this young junior. My 2 best friends still can't believe the fight just now. Ronan bowed and continued, "Please forgive me. I hope I will be taught more in the future." His actions made these second years look at each other awkwardly. Suddenly Brown's loud voice rang out, "I thought you were a bad guy. Not only are you strong but you're also a polite junior. But don't be so humble. I admire this victory. You just have to be bold. Because that's what a Philion student is like." Having said that, the other person held Ronan's hand and raised it in the air like a winner. "Great skills, Ronan." He laughed. He fought as fiercely as his skills. Ronan's purpose for doing these actions was so that his sister wouldn't have to worry anymore. Iril, after torturing the person next to her until she was completely devastated, sobbed emotionally. She has truly grown up. At the same time, below the stage, there was a figure quietly observing Ronan's actions. The other person smiled. It was really interesting. That evening in the dining room, everyone spoke to each other about the fierce battle in the morning. Asel looked around and said, "They said there would be an opening party. I was wondering what it was." Private Lee Dongjin received very high marks. Maria smiled and said, "I heard that this is the most prestigious academy in the Imperial City. Shouldn't it be at least like that?" Ronan nodded in response. "That's right, there's nothing surprising." Asel turned to ask, "Why isn't Iril coming, Ronan?" He hummed and nodded. Then he couldn't help but remember his sister's many instructions before leaving and continued, "She was always worried, so it took some time to calm her down. I even let Sita go with me, so I don't have to worry about how she walks. After all, it's a dragon." Speaking of this, he remembered Sita's cool appearance. Privates must defeat 4 hounds, while first-class privates must defeat 3 goblins using special weapons. Now let's taste the food at Philion. Just when Ronan was about to enjoy the delicious food, there was a cold voice behind him. "Are you really going to eat it?" Ronan, he looked bewildered at the person talking behind him, then determined that the other person was Shiliefan. He was so angry that he broke his plate. "God forbid the food, what did you call it? Why are you here? What are you planning to cause trouble this time?" Shiliefan boldly said again, "I didn't come to start a fight. I only came to see some important information." Ronan looked at the other person with suspicious eyes. "What important information?" Shiliefan took out the notebook and began to interrogate. "Where is Miss Iril's house? Is there a star of the Imperial Citadel? How is the traffic there? Is the security there good? Do thieves not often appear?" Ronan doesn't seem to have a chance to intervene in that question. Shiliefan continued asking, "You must have arranged an army to escort the young lady. I believe you will at least find mercenaries to do that. Otherwise you're worse than a prisoner in Fodelan." Ronan angrily interrupted the other person's words. "I've done it, you bastard. I've done it. I'll send someone more trustworthy. Unless a wyvern or something appears, then nothing will happen. Don't worry." But this statement seems to make Shiliefan even more worried. "What did you say? You mean if a wyvern appeared then lady would be attacked?" Seeing Shiliefan's criticism clearly in her eyes, Ronan was extremely upset. "Enough crazy. First of all, why are you making such a big deal about my sister? Who do you think you are and what relationship do you have with my sister? Shiliefen's body trembled, he was completely weak at this point. After a while, Li Dongjun finally walked out of the tunnel towards the observation spot. While everyone was still fighting, a silhouette of a young woman passed by. She smiled and said, "This scene is interesting. Is the Grainsha wolf so talkative?" Shiliefen turned to look at the other person. The observers were all surprised and looking forward to it. The same goes for Sun Yunseo, even her commander. A baseball bat has pins on its head that go through it to form sharp points. I'm just interested. Just with Ronan. Ronan opened his eyes and pointed at himself. What's wrong with me? Why me? Shiliefen observed the other person for a while and then sighed. I guess someone was plotting something again. It's just a simple fight. But at this moment, Tar was still hesitant. Then I couldn't help but suggested to Ronan. I thought I should at least send my family's guard to follow. The blue veins on Ronan's face appeared. He scolded harshly and went away. Suddenly a trembling hand pulled Ronan's shirt. Acel said in fear, "It was the person in the confrontation just now." Ronan calmly replied, "You don't need to explain, Acel, she's superior. The first second is close. Just relying on that can completely defeat the opponent." Erzabet smiled and said, "Don't you think you should teach those bearing their fangs a lesson?" "You understand what I mean, don't you, Ronan?" He replied indifferently, "I don't understand anything, but why did you come here?" Erzabet slowly walked over and said, "The talent you showed this time is really impressive. So I'm here to make an offer. Something a lowly criminal could never dream of, a very special offer." Meinald's eyes looked up. "Is this an invitation from Erzabet?"